I'm here with Ben Ferguson. Ben,
I'm having like deja vu right now, right?
I know.
It's good to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you. And so for our listeners, just a reminder, check out Ben, The Ben Ferguson Show, and his newest podcast, The Verdict, with Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Ben, you're here at CPAC. You spoke earlier today. Share with our listeners, what did you talk about? Tell us a little bit about what you and Ted had to share.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. So I'm getting to do this podcast now with Senator Cruz, and we were supposed to go on stage. We had our show planned, and welcome to what happens when the Senate votes. So none of the senators know when they're going to vote. It's the weirdest thing ever. And they don't give them a schedule for the day of when the vote's going to happen, which you could do, but welcome to the U.S. government, right? So they had a vote that got delayed, so all the senators that were supposed to speak today at CPAC were all late. So everybody was moving around the program. Well, they all show up at the same time, and then they called another vote earlier. So they were all so everybody that was a senator that's speaking today at CPAC had to speak basically the same exact time. That didn't work out very well. So literally DJ Vance, who just won in Ohio, we walked over and like, all right, we're either going to have no time or do you want to be a guest on the podcast? And that's what we did. So it was DJ who did such a great job. He's a blue-collar conservative. He's got an awesome book out that if you haven't read it yet, people should go read it. And Vance had a tough election, and he won that Senate seat in Ohio that was so vitally important. He won it without establishment money, which I think is a big problem in the Republican Party right now. A lot of the establishment did not get behind him. They didn't think he was going to be able to win. They didn't like that he was a real, true conservative, and they just pulled the funding. They just didn't support him. The top Republican leadership did not come in and support him. People like Ted Cruz came in and donated and helped and raised money, and he's now, the new senator from Ohio, a swing state. It's a great story, and he's a guy that is. I love what he's done with his campaign, which was he tried to bridge the gap, and we have a gap right now, and I worry about it. And that gap is you have two candidates that are so much alike, and it's a two-person race. You have Trump and DeSantis. And you could take a Trump speech and a DeSantis speech and just take out any personal references to family or Mar-a-Lago or anything, and you wouldn't know who gave it. And that's what worries me. And part of what we talked about was the Republican Party needs to understand that we are up against a united Democratic Party that's so united, they are literally willing to elect a dead person in Pennsylvania. There was a dead human being on the ballot, and they coalesced behind that guy. They also coalesced behind Fetterman. And they will coalesce behind Joe Biden as long as his heart is actually beating. I mean, they don't care if you're cognitive, they don't care if you're functioning. They just want to win. And what we do, and this is very frustrating. Look at this week. Somebody's week this week is going to get ruined, and somebody's week this week in the Republican Party is going to be made. You have CPAC happening here. Clearly the grassroots conservative, true conservatives are here. You have Club for Growth, who is meeting at the same time, clearly on purpose, in Florida. Now, you have to have money to get elected. If you don't believe me, call Rick Santorum and say, how much money did it take to beat Mitt Romney? Well, he'd say, we didn't have enough. Mitt Romney was able to buy that primary. He spent $214, if I remember correctly, per vote in Ohio. We spent, I think it was 14 cents, because all the money people got behind Mitt Romney, and we know that was a disaster. But you still have to have money. The money people picked John McCain. They also picked Jeb Bush. So there's a history of them getting it wrong because they want to coalesce and they want a power broker and they want to say, we're the kingmakers. You can't win the White House without money. You can't win the White House without an entirely united Republican Party either. So this is the war I worry about because the Democrats are not having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
The conversation they're having right now is he alive?
Right.
That's
right.
the only requirement.
Can he fog a mirror?
Right. I mean, literally, is he alive? Is like, oh, he's dead. I don't care. He's on the ballot. Let's elect the dead guy in Pennsylvania, which they actually did.
Right.
So I want to turn to a little bit of hope here because I'm excited for 2024, and I love the energy here. Looking at 2024, we've got Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Donald J. Trump. Do you think we're going to have a very crowded primary? And do you think that that's good for the Republican Party? Do you think it might hurt the Republican
I
the
personally,
conservative movement?
Yeah, so I've worked with 3 different presidential campaigns, and I learned from some of the best in the business that you take emotion out of it when you're doing analysis of what the field looks like, and you look at the facts. And the facts are it's a 2-man race right now. It doesn't mean I'm being mean to Nikki Haley or anyone else or Mike Pence or anybody else. it is going to be DeSantis, and I let's just break news here. Ron DeSantis running for president of the United States of America. It's going to happen. Like, it's done deal. Like, Ron DeSantis running for president, and so is Donald Trump. That is the field right now. There is no one else that matters at the moment. Now, when you get on a stage and you throw a couple punches, can you rise to the top or maybe come in third candidate? Sure. But it all comes down to what I said a minute ago. It all comes down to money. You have to have money, and if you don't have money, you can't win early on. When you get, it costs so much money now to become president of the United States of America, and we just need to understand that. But I think this is an amazing field that we do have at the moment. It is DeSantis, which I would be happy as president, and Donald Trump, who is an amazing president, so I'd be happy with him. And we need to not lose sight of that. Both of these options right now are incredible. You look at DeSantis, and if you said, and again, you take emotion out of it, and you say, okay, what did DeSantis do to become so popular in Florida? He took the America First MAGA agenda and implemented it brilliantly statewide. Would I be happy with a guy doing that in Washington, D.C., carrying on the legacy? Of course I would. So we need to not make it personal, and we need to be honest, and we don't need to waste a bunch of money fighting early in the primaries. That's what does. I do worry about this tribalism that has happened. And we have tribalism in the Republican Party, and it is our Achilles heel because the Tea Party, we're not with the Tea Party. We're the GOP establishment. Tribalism. You know, you're MAGA, you're either with us or you're against us. Tribalism. There are brilliant people that can run this country. If it is Donald Trump, I will high-five everyone, and I will be happy, and I will jump up and down. And if it is DeSantis, I will be happy, and I will jump up and down because it's not Joe Biden. And we need to remember, these guys need to have what I would refer to as a genuine, grand debate on the issues. And 98% of the time, they're going to agree. But if your guy doesn't get it, you need to not stay home because ultimately, who are we trying to get rid of? And that's Joe Biden.
We got about a minute left.
That's
Ben.
it?
Yeah, I just
we're flying here.
Dave Kane just gave me the one sign. So, but I either that or I don't know what that signal means. But anyway, I just wanted to ask you, knowing full well, I just heard you talk about how the Democrats are going to coalesce around whoever gets the nomination. I hear you. That said, do you think it's going to be Biden?
Yes. 100%. If Biden is still
so long as he's
alive,
got a heartbeat.
I mean, literally, as long as he has a heartbeat, that's the standard now for the Democratic Party's presidential candidate. And we need to understand that we're not running against brilliant people anymore. We're running against a machine that's the Democratic Party that wins at all costs, including what I would refer to is abuse of a human being with what they did with Fetterman.
Yeah.
The fact that they ran Fetterman and the fact that his family didn't step in, I think, is an abuse of a human being that clearly now needed this help in long-term care. I think they took advantage of him because they didn't want to lose a seat. They didn't care about Fetterman. They didn't care about his health. They didn't care about him as a person. They didn't care about his family. They didn't care about his kids. They knew they had to win that seat at all costs. And if he went into long-term rehab for depression, which is what has happened, and everything that's happened, I don't think he's going to be in the Senate anytime soon, and I'm glad he's not. My point is because he needs to take care of his health.
He's got to get healthy.
But they didn't care about him as a human being. They should have never continued that campaign. They should have said, you need to suspend it. You need to take care of your health. Having a stroke is significant. You need to take care of your family. You need to take care of your health. And the Democratic Party said, no. We don't care. Just prop him up. Juice him up. It's what they did with sports athletes, 10 years ago.
Right.
Just give them another shot in the knee. Get them numb. Who cares if they can't walk?
It's what Jill Biden is doing with her husband,
Exactly.
in my view. It's the very thing Jill Biden is doing. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. To our listeners, check Ben out if you're not already. Ben Ferguson Show and The Verdict with Ted Cruz. What a great podcast that is.
Thank
Ben
you. It's
Ferguson,
fun.
Thank you for joining us
Good to be
today.
back with you guys.
Good to see you,
Really
Ben.
great.